of Canada, the leader of the Green Party of Canada, Elizabeth May.
Other leaders would kill for this kind of reception. For all of you being here and waiting, sorry we were late. Started this morning in Halifax, then we did rallies in Orangeville, well, Waterloo, and now here in Hamilton, a bedrock green place. Do they want me up on the stage? Because if they do, it doesn't seem to be any steps. So I'm really very happy to be here. Forgive my voice. As you can imagine, the national tour has involved so many speeches in so many places, and not always with such great microphones. So I'm sounding a little rough, but I'm feeling fantastic. There's a groundswell of enthusiasm for our message. There's a groundswell of enthusiasm for our platform. A lot of people who never knew they were green are finding out they are. I just had an exciting news flash. I don't know if you've heard, the consortium's changed its mind. Not about me. The consortium, that group of media executives who haven't ever had a consistent thought pattern in the time I've known them, have last week said that the debates are all organized. They said this in court, the Federal Court of Appeal. There's no way to make a last-minute change. Everything's locked in. They just announced they have some flexibility. They've moved the date of the French debate from Thursday to Wednesday, so it won't be up against the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah. So it's not a good thing for a federal party leader to have to do battle with the country's main media outlets, which represent interlocking webs of media-controlled, corporate-controlled media. I mean, we've got the media that owns the newspapers, tends to also be involved with the television, involved with the radio. So I wrote a whole chapter in my last book about the dangers of corporate concentration in our news media. This was also probably not wise if I wanted to get into debate. Probably also not a good move to share with the world that Stephen Harper brought notes to the debates when they weren't allowed. Well, I figured I should share my experience in political life, honestly. And I honestly was shocked in 2008 by the extent to which some media outlets tried to interfere with the election to promote some parties over others. Now, of course, I must have exaggerated. There must be some other reason Mike Duffy went to the Senate. So, Paul Martin, excuse me for this croaky voice, Paul Martin in his autobiography said that a politician who complains about the media is like a sailor who complains about the sea. I know it's rough going, but in this election campaign, I feel as though democracy got hijacked by 5 corporate media executives, 2 of whom are our public broadcaster, CBC and Radio Canada. Yeah, both. Yeah, the ombudsman for CBC and the ombudsman for Radio Canada have both said the same thing. This decision flies in the face of the public interest. This decision does not serve the interests of democracy. And for me, quite honestly, the chill over democracy that I feel from this decision is not even primarily because it affects the Green Party, but because what it says is we've fallen short of real democracy in Canada. We've been letting it slip away by inches. We haven't woken up to the threat. And in this election, it is my profound hope that despite the efforts of major national media outlets, not just to decide I'm not invited to the debates, but to decide that Greens aren't invited to the election, with just one example. I mean, again, bad idea to beat up on the Globe and Mail, but on the other hand, why not? So, on Thursday, we released our platform in Toronto. Last I checked, the Globe and Mail's office is in Toronto. And we released a substantive, exciting, positive vision for Canada, with a fully costed program out over 3 years, in which we would reduce the deficit faster with a conservative budget, in which we expand social programs, such as early childhood education and child care, such as improving pensions, disability payments, to ensure that no one with disabilities and no seniors live in poverty. With a vision to modernize our economy, to start investing in long-term infrastructure commitments. We were so proud. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities put out a press release to say the Green Party's commitment to municipalities is superior to that of any other party. We are the party that has said the most about Canada's role in the world, about foreign affairs, about Libya, about Afghanistan. We're the party that said, as far as I can see, the only things in this election about the climate crisis and how we can use the challenge and the threat of the climate crisis to revolutionize our economy, to move away from fossil fuels in a way that stimulates economic activity, creates hundreds of thousands of new jobs, and leaves Canada more productive, more competitive than where we are today. And yet, with all of that on offer in our platform, Friday, the day after our launch, the Globe and Mail didn't give us so much as a single little tiny box to say, and by the way, the leader of the Green Party was in Toronto yesterday, and they launched their platform. We don't think it's worth your hearing much about it. We thought you'd like to know they launched it. You know, there was no reference whatsoever. So we have a real challenge in this election. We have a challenge to get the word out when there are a whole lot of people who don't want Canadians to know what it is we have to say. There are a whole lot of vested interests that don't want to know that the single biggest growing cost in our healthcare system is the price of prescription drugs, which is growing out of control because of the influence and excessive power of the pharmaceutical industry. I came across this statistic while I was working on the updated platform with our shadow cabinet from the Therapeutics Initiative at UBC, a wonderful group that doesn't take a penny of pharmaceutical industry money. It just takes the submissions from the pharmaceutical industry that are given to Health Canada, and they review them to see if on the evidence submitted by the pharmaceutical industry, the drugs that are being registered will actually do more good than harm. And they keep finding examples of drugs that do more harm than good. And they mentioned to me that for every doctor in Canada, there are 2.5 pharmaceutical industry salesmen. So we've got a problem. And if we're going to bring in a national pharmacare program to make prescription drugs affordable to every Canadian, we better make sure they're not prescription drugs that'll kill them instead of helping them. So we're going to do both. There's some other inconvenient truths out there, like the safety of our food system. How many of you know that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has a dual mandate to be regulating our food safety, that's the one we know about, and to be promoting Canadian food exports? Anyone see a problem here? This is one of the reasons that the maple leaf listeriosis outbreak wasn't dealt with expeditiously, because the regulator is also the promoter, and they were worried about moving too fast to scare off those export markets for what Maple Leaf laughably refers to as luncheon meats. They are the worst of the worst of processed food that resembles not so much food as something so cheap that they can deliver it to homes for our seniors. How many things are wrong with that sentence? Our seniors deserve dignity. They deserve healthy food. Our children deserve healthy food. Corporate influence in our media, corporate influence in our healthcare system, corporate influence in food safety, and corporate influence in the fact that Canada is the only OECD nation with no energy policy. None at all. All we have, of course, is the ad hoc policy, which is clear as day when you look at everything the federal government has done, not just under this government, but in previous governments. Everything is about stimulating the growth of production of bitumen from the oil sands, and nothing is about reducing greenhouse gases. And that is irresponsible. That, Mr. Harper, not the coalition. Coalition cooperation is a good idea. What's reckless is ignoring the single largest threat to our survival as a civilization. That is not only reckless, it's irresponsible, and Canadians must rise up and say no. We have in this country moved some distance from who we thought we were as a people. A lot of you are too young to know and remember when Lester Pearson was Prime Minister. And Lester Pearson, who received, before he became Prime Minister, from the United Nations, the Nobel Peace Prize. It's the only Prime Minister we've ever had to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Because in the Sinai crisis, he invented peacekeeping. Now, Canada ranks 69th in the world in peacekeeping. We have, in the last 4 years, 3 times refused a UN request to send 4 people to the Republic of the Congo to stop the loss of life there. 3. We've had requests for Canada to help in peacekeeping, and we've turned the other way. We've had requests for Canada to step forward in efforts to meet the Millennium Development Goals. And Canada's response has been to say, any money we give to maternal health can't include abortions. That's George W. Bush's policy. It's never been a Canadian government policy, nor should it. It's immoral.